prospect profile time on a call up from the Los Angeles Dodgers system that some people are very excited about and their fans had been calling for. They are impatient right now, and here comes 23-year-old Andy Pages. Let's go over Pages and what he can bring to the table here. AJ, this is a Dodgers prospect who is a Cuban ball player with a ton of pop, has a big arm, that toolsy type of player that you expect to come out of Cuba. And Dodgers fans are not pleased with the results of the bottom half of their lineup. So will they potentially be a little bit happier, right? That's an understatement. Will they potentially be a little bit happier if they see Pages doing what he's been doing in a short stint right now in the minor leagues so far this season?
Oh, absolutely, because this is a guy who can add a ton of pop to the bottom of that lineup. He can play right, he can play left, he can play center, but you really don't want him out in center very often. But he does run pretty well, big arm. Routes can get a little bit better out there, but he's still young. But the key thing is he's healthy. He missed most of last year with a shoulder injury, and that probably slowed his arrival by at least a few months. But we're talking about a guy here who I know he's had he had an incredible last week. He's very high on our prospect hot sheet over at baseballamerica.com this week. But on top of that, this is a guy who was also doing that all spring. I happened to see him on the backfields, and first pitch he saw in a game, home run. Later in the backfield, same game, home run. There's just big-time pop here. There's a guy who also has a chance to hit for average and power. I'm going to be interested to see if this is kind of a short-term or more of a long-term play. Obviously, what Pages does is going to determine that in some ways, but Jason Hayward's hurt right now. Chris Taylor's not hitting, but this is still a very crowded Dodgers roster because you obviously have a DH spot filled with Shohei Ohtani. You have, Mookie Betts bouncing all around the field. You have numerous players here, but Ben, the thing I do think that Pages is good enough, is talented enough, and maybe is ready enough to be a guy who takes this opportunity, grabs it, and doesn't let go of it.
Yeah, and you talked about he missed most of last year after having shoulder surgery. I don't think anybody questioned the power that Pages had before the injury, right? But okay, he just had shoulder surgery. Is it going to take a little bit of time for the power to come back? Well, no, that's clearly
Nope.
not an issue. And just look at the track, the history of his development to me has been really impressive because this was a guy I was pretty skeptical of him when he was a prospect coming up in the lower levels. He had a lot of tools, like you said, gigantic raw power, huge arm strength, pretty good athlete. But he, the swing gets uphill. He had some holes. There was a lot of swing and miss. That 2019 season when he was in the Pioneer League in rookie ball, he struck out 28% of the time. And pretty much every year, every level, he's lowered that strikeout rate. It was 25% the 2 seasons after that. Last season, it was a shortened season, but 23%. This year, again, only 15 games, but it's an 18% strikeout rate. So he's been able to make a lot of adjustments for somebody who had a lot more holes in his swing and in his offensive game at the lower levels. Now again, no question about the power, and he's been able to make adjustments with some more efficiencies in his swing and improvements in his approach to be able to make more contact. That I think is going to be big for him.
Yeah, mixing in some comments here from the group, Jeff from the BA squad. Good angles with enough power and walks. And as we're looking at these, JJ, I'll cue you up with my next question for you. And here's One-Eyed Dragon. Pages plays. Comps, anything that Dodgers fans can look at with him and say, oh, this could be player X, for us this season?
Okay. I'm trying to think of one. Okay, this one's going to sound bad, but I'm going to say Alex Verdugo a little bit. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that as in corner outfielder who's kind of well-rounded. Pages may have a little bit more power if it all comes together. But again, a guy who is, the great thing about this Dodgers lineup, and I know it's struggled right now, it's struggling a little bit recently, but they're not going to have to ask him to be a star. They're asking for him to be the 5th, 6th, 7th best guy in the lineup. And so I think he's very capable of handling that. And this is a guy, look, this is a hard lineup to break into. you just look at guys who've been buried, guys who've been stuck, who haven't made it to the to the big leagues long term with the Dodgers, who have to get traded elsewhere, like a Michael Busch. Paez is the guy who has a chance to break through that because there is enough bat here, and he also kind of fills the positional need that maybe they have this year, and especially going forward.
Okay. Anyone for you, Ben, stand out on the comp side?
Yeah, nobody that like really jumps to mind, but yeah, kind of like Jeff said, somebody who's going to draw walks, somebody who can hit 25 plus home runs. I don't. The strikeouts are still there. I don't think he's going to contend for a batting title, but maybe a league average to tick below hitter, but with the walks to offset some of the strikeouts, and then again 25, maybe 30 plus type home run power if everything clicks.
Mm-hmm. And the thing to keep in mind with Dodgers prospects is that, yeah, sometimes you might kind of get buried. But if you do get an opportunity to play and you're on a team that's in win now mode, I mean, if Andy Paez just, crushes a few homers a week in his first few weeks in the bigs, they're not putting him anywhere but in the lineup. They'll figure it out. They'll make space for a guy like this, especially when, yes, the lineup hasn't been as deep as they anticipated, at least in the first few weeks of the season. On that topic, Michael Busch was traded away this offseason. And we'll see how it works out on the Dodgers side. That included Jackson Ferris going the other way. And both guys, maybe you guys can help me. I'm forgetting the name right from the top here. But who else went across in that trade?
Was Zaire Hope.
Zaire Hope. And I think both of them were off to good starts this season in the minors. Okay, fine. But Michael Busch is off to a nice start in the majors. He's homered in 5 consecutive games. I think he has 6 on the season. He's just been a perfect fit for the Cubs so far and was big in a win for them in extras last night. So our old friend Kyle Glazer said that for years we had an inside joke at BA about hashtag free Michael Busch. He was blocked in LA and needed a trade to get everyday ABs and show what he could do. He got his freedom, and now his ability is out in the open for all to see. So, JJ, what do you think about his success so far? And I had read something about the Dodgers being concerned about how he'd handle, high velocity. He had maybe some struggles, numbers-wise against, pitch at fastballs that were in the upper 90s. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not tracking every pitch that he's hit so far, but I think he's hitting everything.
I think that the key thing for me with Busch is what Chicago's been able to do that Los Angeles was never going to be able to do, is let him move down the defensive spectrum. I know he was drafted as a second baseman. He wasn't going to ever be really a second baseman, especially in the post-shift rules, ban world. They tried him at third. He's not really a third baseman. The Cubs are allowing him to just be a first baseman. Don't worry about trying to be more than you are defensively. Just go out there and hit. And that's something where if you're Los Angeles, understandably, they couldn't do that. They have Freddie Freeman. He's not going to move Freddie Freeman aside. But with Chicago, I think, for him, the key is getting regular at-bats and getting regular at-bats at a position where he's not having to try to do something that's a little bit beyond his ability, frees him up to be the best Michael Busch he can be.